Click once to surrender. Taiwanese officials warn that screenshots from an app spreading on social media could be Beijing's latest attempt at cognitive warfare.
我必须要求我们的警察局要针对像有这样子，因为有13个台北市民登入嘛，那必须要稽查这个 APP 的开发者。
A plagiarism scandal in China has baseball fans seeing double. Could the US Supreme Court strike down the majority of Trump's tariffs? Plus, Taiwan's military is looking to buy hundreds of anti-drone systems, but is it enough to counter Beijing's advantage? A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Laurel Stewart. China may be using a new form of cognitive warfare, impacting Taiwan's security. As Cadence Quaranta reports, there are growing concerns here about several apps, web pages and social media posts.
Recently, there have been reports of web pages and apps that allow Taiwanese people to pledge their loyalty to China. Screenshots and videos of two in particular have turned up on different social media platforms. One app called Return Home allegedly claims to allow Taiwanese people to surrender to China with one click. Another webpage called Taiwan Surrender also appears to allow users to indicate they want to surrender and shows how many people in different Taiwanese cities have done so. Screenshots appear to show 13 people in Taipei alone. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council previously said the first app could not be found on app stores in either Taiwan or China, raising questions about whether the app really exists. And the second webpage appears to have been taken down. TaiwanPlus was not able to independently verify the existence of either of these platforms and also could not confirm who created them. Still, news of these platforms has gotten quite a bit of attention in Taiwan, both on social media and from government officials. At least one Taipei city councilor is raising alarms about the latest Taiwan Surrender webpage, saying it threatens the security of the city's people.
我必须要求我们的警察局。 要针对像有这样子，因为有13个台北市民登入嘛，那必须要稽查这个 APP 的开发者，那也要通报国安单位，因为这是一个叛国的行为。
Taiwan is particularly sensitive to this kind of news at a time when its government says China has been increasing its intimidation and influence tactics against Taiwan in several new ways, including through social media. China considers Taiwan part of its territory and has said it's willing to take control of it by force. Taiwan rejects this claim. This week, there's also been some discussion about some satellite photos released by China's embassy in the U.S. on social media platform X, showing high-resolution shots of a number of well-known places in Taiwan. The caption says there is but one China in the world and that Taiwan is a part of China's territory. China's Taiwan Affairs Office appeared to signal that these satellite photos showed it could use technology to help better defend its territorial claims.
台湾是祖国的宝岛。 随着大陆科技水平的持续提升，我们丈量国土更精准，守卫家园更坚实，拥抱未来更笃定。正如网友所言，这是家的俯瞰。
In a statement, Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council suggested the post could be part of China's cognitive warfare, attempting to belittle Taiwan and advance its claims to the country, adding that Taiwanese people will not accept these tactics. Others are calling the post threatening. In a post on X, the chair of the U.S. Senate's Foreign Relations Committee called the post a great example of the Chinese Communist Party's blatant threats against a peaceful democracy. All of this comes as tensions are high across the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan is on high alert for any influence tactics from China, including psychological ones, and while those may be more subtle, many in Taiwan remain vigilant against them. Devin Tsai and Cadence Quaranta for TaiwanPlus.
The Mainland Affairs Council says China is trying to hinder Taiwan's participation in next year's APEC summit, set to be held in the Chinese city of Shenzhen. The council, which manages Taiwan's relations with China, compared the situation to 2014, the last time China hosted APEC. Then, Taiwan was invited through cross-strait channels rather than directly by APEC organizers. And Beijing required that any meetings between Taiwan's representatives and other leaders be kept secret. They pointed out that cross-strait relations are now far worse than they were in 2014.
一定不会比2014年好。我们会预想到可能会有一些情况啊，那我们会努力守住我方的会员国地位跟尊严。
China views Taiwan as part of its territory and does not like it when Taiwan participates in international events. China is set to debut a new baseball league next year with 5 teams taking part. But baseball fans in Taiwan noticed something a little too familiar about one of the team's logos. Leslie Liao has more on how the new league is starting off with a few legal questions.
Take a look at these 2 baseball team logos and try to spot the difference. Quite similar, aren't they? Well, they're not from the same team. In fact, they're not even from the same country. One is the logo of the CTBC Brothers, one of Taiwan's oldest baseball clubs, and the other is from the Shanghai Brothers, a new baseball team set to play in China's new league, which will debut next year. When the Chinese Baseball League debuted its new teams, CTBC Brothers fans immediately noticed the similarities between the 2 logos and called foul. But there's also been speculation that CTBC had a stake in the Shanghai Brothers, meaning everything was above board. Taiwan's baseball commissioner says the league knew of the suspected plagiarism half a year ago, and it's asking CTBC for an explanation.
会向中心球团查询到底他们面对这个问题的态度是什么。 然后他们的跟整个所谓这个 logo 很像，然后名称也一样，那他们有什么样的看法？
The company that manages the CTBC Brothers responded, saying that neither the team nor the company knew about this. If there is any infringement, the company will take action. The company then said that it prioritizes its interests and fans in Taiwan. The CTBC Brothers are not the only ones dealing with potential plagiarism cases. People on the internet have pointed out that all 5 team logos introduced in the new Chinese league seem copied. For example, the Shenzhen Blue Sox logo is like the American Boston Red Sox ball club, while the Xiamen Dolphins logo bears similarities to the American football Miami Dolphins franchise. With collaboration claims now off the table, it seems the only 2 possibilities left are either plagiarism or sheer coincidence. Howard Zhang and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is seeing a spike in Chinese military activity. The Defense Ministry says it spotted 12 Chinese military aircraft and 10 naval vessels operating near the country between Wednesday and Thursday morning. All 12 of those aircraft came closer to Taiwan's main island than other regular incursions. It's a break from the relatively low activity over the last couple of weeks and comes as China holds military exercises in the South China Sea, just days before it is set to commission a new aircraft carrier, the Fujian. Taiwan may purchase hundreds of new anti-drone systems to counter China's growing fleet. As Alan Liu reports, the military has already set up dedicated drone units and could begin testing them soon.
The military may make a massive investment in defending the country from a modern weapon, drones. A notice on Taiwan's government procurement website shows the plans to purchase 635 sets of portable anti-drone systems worth about $300 million. Officials say the decision hasn't been finalized.
我想这些都还在建案当中啊，细节我想在这个时候不便透露。
Experts say the war in Ukraine proves that drones pose a serious threat to ground forces, making counter-drone systems a necessity. But experts also say the military needs to be clear on their use.
例如说，你是这个跟着这个保护这个机动的这个部队，那个野外部署的安全，还是保护机场等等的哈。
Beijing claims Taiwan as part of its territory and has not ruled out the use of force to take the country. With China's military thought to have tens of thousands of drones, Taiwan is also working to defend itself in a conflict.
In Taiwan is that actually 4 of our armed forces divisions all established their own UAV training center to ensure that we have enough personnel to operate those drones when we have the ability to deploy that directly to our militaries.
Taiwan's defense ministry says the military has been deploying different types of surveillance and attack drone and has set up dedicated drone units. It is also developing training programs and operational guidelines, and is on track to test these in exercises next year. Joseph Wu and Ellen Lu for TaiwanPlus.
Prosecutors in Taipei have detained a key suspect in a money laundering case involving a massive Cambodian scam ring. The suspect, a female manager surnamed Gu, is being held without contact with the outside world. She's one of 5 major figures thought to be involved in operations in Taiwan connected to the Prince Group. The group allegedly ran online scam centers that used slave labor and was headed by a China-born Cambodian boss who once lived in Taiwan. Prosecutors have also seized a number of properties, luxury cars, and bank accounts linked to the case. 3 people are missing after a fishing boat capsized near the Dachrahn River estuary in northern Taiwan. 6 other crew members were rescued by a passing fishing boat. The Coast Guard says it is still working on search and rescue operations. Coming up after the break, 75 years after the Korean War, one last generation of refugees still remembers a homeland that is so close yet so far away.
This month's top hits on TaiwanPlus.
This season, we're going into the campus.
Join international students as they explore life and fun in Taiwan.
Is it complex?
Like, okay, you are my friend.
Take a walk with Japanese host Junji Takada as he finds stories and wonder in every step.
すごいね。これ、ここで作ってんの。
はい。
From bold ideas to booming startups. See how innovators in Taiwan are powering the next global wave.
このムーボって授業は B2 Government.
Go straight to the source and uncover the roots and craft behind the secret to Taiwan's great taste. Vibrant and original programs exclusively on TaiwanPlus.
我自己少遇见一朵花，我可能就不是这个样子。
开始思考什么叫做一个本土性，
大声的唱出来说我是台湾人。
At Connected, we believe in the power of dialogue.
Taipei 101 station.
It's not just about the headlines, it's about finding common ground. Join the conversation.
Global semiconductor
administrations.
Connected on TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Taiwan's economy minister struck an upbeat tone, saying the nation could get a better trade deal with the US.
我们看到了乌云慢慢散去，我们看到了很多的曙光跟阳光。对等关系一定会往好的方向来进行。
Gong's remarks come as Taiwan continues trade negotiations with the US, which currently imposes a 20% reciprocal tariff on most of Taiwan's exports. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te said that while the country is seeking better terms with the US, Taiwan can use its strengths in manufacturing and communications technology to help the US reindustrialize and build tech hubs. Taiwan's economic think tank said Thursday that the tariff rate could be reduced to 15% without stacking on top of existing rates. The US Supreme Court is weighing whether the Trump administration went too far in using emergency powers to impose those global tariffs. So far, the justices sound skeptical. But even if they rule against Trump, his team could still have other legal ways to tax imports. John Van Trieste reports.
A challenge to U.S. President Donald Trump's use of emergency powers to impose tariffs has made it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's the culmination of 3 lawsuits filed by tariff-hit businesses and 12 states. The court's decision could undo a key Trump policy and force the U.S. government to refund some of the billions in revenue it's already raked in. But a high-ranking Justice Department official says the law Trump invoked, the IEEPA, implies the power to impose tariffs, and that Trump believes undoing the tariffs could cause the U.S. deep harm.
Unwinding those agreements, he warns, would expose us to ruthless trade retaliation by far more aggressive countries and drive America from strength to failure with ruinous economic and national security consequences.
But no other president has used this law to impose tariffs before. And with the U.S. Constitution giving Congress, not the president, authority over tariffs and taxes, justices ranging from the liberal minority to the conservative majority are skeptical. Some say the IEEPA was never intended to give the president such powers.
It's pretty clear that Congress was trying to constrain the emergency powers of the president in IEEPA. So it seems a little inconsistent to say that we have to interpret a statute that was designed to constrain presidential authority, consistent with an understanding that Congress wanted the president to have essentially unlimited authority.
Even some Trump nominees have reservations about whether the separation of powers might be eroded beyond repair.
So Congress, as a practical matter, can't get this power back once it's handed it over to the president. It's a one-way ratchet toward the gradual but continual accretion of power in the executive branch and away from the people's elected representatives.
Chief Justice John Roberts, a conservative with a wild-card reputation, made similar points.
Yes, of course, tariffs and dealings with foreign powers, but the vehicle is imposition of taxes on Americans, and that has always been the core power of Congress. So to have the president's foreign affairs power trump that basic power for Congress seems to me to kind of at least neutralize between the two powers, the executive power and the legislative power.
This is just the start of deliberations, and the court could in the end rule any way. And despite the skepticism from justices, Trump's officials are upbeat.
Sometimes the best tariffs are the ones that never get enforced. That, the president threatened 100% tariffs after the Chinese on October 8th threatened to put export controls on rare earth magnets from Chinese products that had 0.01%. Every camera, every iPhone here would have been subject to a Chinese control. Because he had the ability to threaten the 100% tariff, he was able to successfully execute on foreign policy.
Even if the court does rule against Trump, it won't spell the end of U.S. tariffs. There are other Trump administration tariffs that this case won't consider. And there are other laws Trump could use to keep tariffs up, even if the speed and intensity are restricted. Still, after backing Trump policies in a string of decisions this year, the court seems ready to at least consider putting a check on the president. Andy Xue and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
To find out more about the Supreme Court case and how it could affect Taiwan, our reporter IT spoke with Dachrahn Wu, the Executive Director of National Central University's Research Center for Taiwan Economic Development.
Could you briefly explain the current situation regarding the U.S. Supreme Court questioning Trump's authority on tariffs?
美国它的这个关税的征收啊，最主要是国会的权利，而不是美国总统的权利。但是呢，川普他是沿用1977年有一个 IEEPA 的法案，他基本上只是在针对跟美国敌对的一些国家，他可以采用一些这个贸易的手段去制裁这些国家。我们大概都可以看到这些大法官。基本上他们认为川普是没有这个权利去动用关税。那所以说呢，他有可能就是目前川普的对等关税，还有之前的芬太尼关税，有可能会被推翻。
If the court rules against the tariffs, how could this impact Taiwan? Which industries in Taiwan might benefit or face challenges?
我们的这个20%这个部分就会被取消了。那我们就回到 美国的最惠国待遇的关税，大概是3%多。那这个对我们台湾的相关的这些产业，就是会有一些正面的一些效益啦。但是我要提醒的另外一件事啊，就是真正对台湾杀伤力最大的，其实是美国贸易扩张法232条款里面的半导体关税。其实跟半导体相关的很多产品都被涵盖进去，包括手机、笔电、伺服器，这些都是。所以呢，这一类的产品呢，其实是我们台湾出口的主力。我们目前出口就是这些电子产品，它的占比是70%。所以其实最大的部分并不是在对等关税的规范而是那个232条款的规范。那232条款呢，现在还没有定案。
What is your view on Taiwan's economic outlook in light of this potential tariffs decision?
232条款的半导体关税，它一旦开始实施之后，那我们的出口有可能会有很大幅度的反转。那这个呢，是我们对台湾接下来我们整个经济成长要面对的这个挑战。如果我们跟美国之间的这个谈判最后的结果出来，我们承诺到美国去做大投资的话，那它代表的就是未来我们很多企业它的投资重心是在美国，而不是在台湾。那这个呢，就是会影响我们台湾的民间投资。那它除了影响到我们当年的 GDP 之外，它其实呢也会影响到未来3年、5年、10年的 GDP。因为投资呢就是经济成长最重要的动能。
That was Dachrahn Wu from National Central University. South Korean authorities are searching for 5 people believed to be trapped after a tower collapsed at a power plant. The 60-meter-high boiler tower was being torn down when it collapsed in the city of Ulsan. 4 people have been rescued from under the structure, which had been in use for over 4 decades. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung has ordered an all-out effort to save the trapped workers. In the Philippines, the death toll from Typhoon Kalmegi has risen to 114, with over 100 more still missing. The typhoon left a deadly trail of destruction in central Philippines, particularly hard-hit Cebu province. Ravaged communities have started to clean up and are calling for more government aid to rebuild. The typhoon is now regaining strength as it crosses the South China Sea and heads towards Vietnam. Forecasters are also tracking another storm, Phong Wong, which could become a super typhoon by next week. The storm is currently southeast of Taiwan, but its path and potential impact are still uncertain. The last generation of people that remember a unified Korea is disappearing fast. More than 7 decades after the Korean War, many still live just kilometres from hometowns they will likely never see again. Bryn Thomas reports.
Autumn in South Korea, and families gather along the northern border to make offerings to ancestors whose graves they haven't visited for nearly 3 generations, and, given the current state of affairs, don't expect to see again in their lifetime.
If you cross straight over, that's my father's hometown. That's where my grandparents are.
Ri Jae-hong tosses a cup of wine towards his father's hometown of Yeonbaek. It's now part of North Korea, just 2 kilometers away, but it might as well be on the moon. Jae-hong's father fled south during the Korean War. Soon after, a tense armistice sealed the border in 1953. Situated at the mouth of the Han River, Gyeorang Island welcomed thousands of refugees like Minok-sun at the war's end.
On they trudge, North Koreans choosing to become homeless wanderers rather than slaves to a regime which threatens to engulf the entire Asiatic world. Every form of transport becomes an evacuation express to a southern destination. Each weary mile south brings its obstacles, and thousands
More than
find each
1.5
river
million
crossing
people fled to the south during the war. Few knew they'd never be able to return.
My parents' graves are only about 6 kilometers away. 6 kilometers, that's barely 10 minutes by car. Can there be a sadness deeper than this?
For decades, they waited for reunification between North and South Korea, or at least détente, anything to see their families. Today, 72 years later, telescopes on the island's north are the only way they can glimpse their old hometowns.
We are a people with broken hearts. Even though we live in abundance today, my parents, my brothers and sisters all remained in North Korea.
The North calls the South a hostile state. and tensions between the two sides are worse than they've been in decades. Pyongyang recently shut down institutions dedicated to reunification and tore down transport links built in the 2000s when things were a little more hopeful. With little say in their fate and aging fast, refugees sing songs that remind them of
All I long for are my mother and father. I left my hometown at 17, fleeing the war, and I haven't seen them since. When I see others with their parents, I can't help but envy them, and tears are all that come.
When birds leave their nests under a roof, they always find their way back. That's called the homing instinct. And we humans also have this need to return home.
Like his wife, Kim still dreams of home. But for him, that longing has never faded into peace.
My wife can sleep peacefully under thick blankets and think, this is my resting place. But not me. Every day I fight inside as if I were still at war.
After years of safety and abundance in the South, the last generation to remember a unified Korea fades, singing the old songs before resting in graves just kilometers away from their ancestors, yet impossibly far from home. Devin Tsai and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Finally, we take you to Thailand for its annual Festival of Lights held to honour the goddess of water. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.